Oh no, I know that. Oh look, we're live.
This isn't our first show.
Yeah. All right, guys. Happy Friday, everyone. Today is February 6th. Friday, February 6th. You're hanging out with my community manager, the community built by, for, and managed by community managers. As always, you can chat along with us over on our Twitters at hashtag CMGR Hangout, where I know a lot of you are watching right now. And don't forget, guys, tweet in questions during the show. We'll bring in your questions for this awesome panel to answer. So if you love what you're seeing today and you want to maybe see something different or have an idea, please head over to our website at mycmgr.com. There's a button that says participate. You can click that and really fill out the form, and that comes to Sherry and I and Dom, and that's how we really do. That's how these Fridays happen. It's up to you. It's your show. We're just here to facilitate. So, all right, what do we have for you this week? Well, today's topic is inspired by Jacob Curtis, who's actually with us today. We're going to talk about preparing a community manager for success. Jacob wrote a post called "Before You Hire a Community Manager, Here's a 7-Step Checklist," and so we're going to kind of really just hit on some questions that Jacob inspired for this Friday. So we'll start by having everyone introduce themselves, starting with Sherry.
In true form, I was on the wrong window. Hey everyone, I'm Sherry Rohde. I lead community and user experience at a company called Rebellion Media, as well as co-produce CMGR Hangout here too.
Boom, Jacob.
Excellent. Well, I'm Jacob. I'm the owner of jacobcurtis.com, and I create social media tutorials weekly. You can find them there. Other than that, I've been a community manager for as long as I can really remember, and really excited to be on the panel today.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Crystal.
Hey, I'm Crystal Bruce. I work for Blackbaud. I'm a community manager for Target Analytics, which is a specific product of Blackbaud, and I've been a community manager for about 9 months, so I'm kind of the baby on board.
Sweet. And Brock, hey, how are you?
Good. Hey guys, it's Brock. I'm Brock DC all over the internet, and I am one of the community managers for the Google Small Business community, and I'm also launching my own community called Philanthropy Quest this year. So that's what you guys see up there. But good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. And hey, everybody, I'm Brew, Director of Awesome at BTC Revolutions, and co-producer here with Sherry at My Community Manager. So let's just jump into the first question, which is how important is a high-res logo, product pictures, and brand book in community manager success? Jacob, you want to just take that?
Yeah, I'll
right
just
away?
Jump in right now.
Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, so really I think when it comes down to it, those three things really equal content, right? So I've had experiences as a community manager where we're onboarding a new client and we ask for a high-res logo, and they provide a thumbnail, basically like 150 by 150 pixel. Can't really do anything with that, especially in a kind of the very visual landscape we live in now. So I think that's extremely important just for graphic and content creation. Also think that the brand book is just going to be very important for the community manager, especially when you're first hiring them, to be able to get updated very quickly about what the brand's values are, what their voice is, what kind of their approved messaging is. From there, they can really kind of jump in and start managing the community. Other than that, the product pictures are clearly for sales or things like this. To also leads into content creation as well, though. But everything really, that whole thing is vital.
And, you know, I just realized, I'm going to rewind us just for a second, and I forgot to have Dom introduce himself, and I don't know how. Maybe it was because he was frozen, and I thought he was just a portrait. But, Dom, are you there that you can say hi to everybody? Oh, dang, look at that. So.
Oh,
And now he's frozen.
Oh.
That's why we didn't ask him questions. His computer could not handle that much information.
Oh, poor Dom. It's like San Keanu.
Just DDoS'd his Hangout.
Does anybody else have anything they want to kind of add to you know, this idea of the high-res logo and you know, for the success of a community manager?
Yeah, I'll jump in really quickly. I agree with Jacob, and I think you can't be a community manager if there's no brand, and if you don't, brand is the logo and every way that you're going to represent your client and your community. So if you don't have those things, I've worked with clients who didn't have them, and the first thing I told them is this is what we're going to work on, and this is the first thing we're going to create. So it's just kind of impossible to represent you accurately if you don't have your own brand and a representation of that.
Yeah, so one thing about this Hangout, which I think this topic is really good, is that it's so many different people can gather just valuable information from this. So whether it's the community manager who's going in for their first interview to sit down with a company, use these questions to vet the company. It's only going to make your job a lot easier, and it's also going to show that you're experienced in knowing to ask these questions and being proactive. So that's one audience for this. The other is kind of the community manager who's just gotten hired, has just found out that none of this stuff exists. And then ultimately what I'm really excited here for is a lot of the more seasoned, say, community managers to really get in here, talk about possibly their fails and why these things have been so important. So, you know, Rachel Miller, for example, here, she really made a good point, as well as not having the visual show you don't really care, that you're kind of just half-assing it, you know. So it's not really a right representation for the community. So great job on that, Rachel. And I am trying to see everybody's Twitter stuffs, but I'm also involved here too, so we'll try to balance it out.
Jacob, if you met me, my name is Brock. Not Rachel.
Hey guys.
Hey, what's up?
Doing great. Jacob, what's going on?
Dude, welcome, welcome. We're on question. We're still in question 1, so you're all good.
Yeah, hey. Just in time. Did you want to introduce yourself and say hi to everyone?
Yes. My name is Cheval, and John, and I'm also second book became Amazon bestseller, and I'm a podcaster of What's the Word.
Awesome. Well, welcome.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I was trying to figure out this whole thing, but this question, hello, can you hear me?
All right, looks like we might be having some connection problems over here. Yes. All right, guys. So yeah, I think let's just move along here to question number 2. So question number 2 is: can a community manager be successful without a marketing budget? Basically, without advertising. If so, what are some tips? So let's talk about that. Anybody?
Well, yeah, I can kind of take this one. First, when I came on board as a community manager, it was a new position for our company, and so nobody really knew what to do with it. There was definitely not an advertising budget for our community, and so some of the things that I did were to kind of find ways around, like mass emailing, which I used MailChimp. It's a free service for. And then I had to budget in promotions, like had to go to the higher ups if I wanted to give away an iPad or something, or do something big to try to get people in. I had to make up a big proposal and go to them, and that was just for like a $299 iPad. So yeah, we're definitely advertising our community with zero budget bucks, and we've been doing it pretty successfully so far.
Yeah, I think you know, definitely to your point is, you don't need to be advertising all the time, especially if the budget's not there. But one thing I think that's important, especially for a new community manager getting hired on to maybe a company that hasn't had a social presence yet, hasn't had a chance to build up that community organically yet, kind of building up the initial community using advertising is going to be a great idea. whatever budget you can really throw into it, because the last thing you want is for the community manager to be creating all this content and nobody seeing it because there's nobody there. So likely if your company has already set up a Facebook page that's been dormant for a bit, EdgeRanks kind of just push them out of the equation of showing up in any of their fans' news feeds. So you're really going to have to try and work to get back in them. So advertising can also bring some fresh blood to the community, and of course all the targeting that you would be doing would make your content relevant. But I think that it's such an uphill battle if you can't get that budget secured. And if you really have to go and write some really crazy long-winded proposals of why this is necessary, I think you'll find as soon as they kind of understand social media and what it can do and why you need to spend dollars to build a community outside of growing organically, then that probably won't become a necessity of them needing something so concrete before they start trusting and believing in what you're doing.
Yeah, I think one way that when I was working with a startup, one way that we did, I didn't have any advertising budget. They barely had budget for me, but they knew my role was necessary. One thing I did was just as a tip for anybody who doesn't have a budget and who can't get it right away, Twitter and Twitter chats and just starting conversations with influencers. And we also had a group of beta users and they helped us build kind of amplify our community and just kind of talk about it because they were part of it. So definitely getting the influencers and the beta users and the people who are passionate about your community, get them to advocate for you if you don't have a budget to just kind of do it all the time, or do it yourself and you don't have thousands or even hundreds of dollars to throw at advertising. Good way to do it is just definitely use the power of your network.
Yeah, I totally agree on the Twitter front. I mean, that's probably your best, your best way for just from a social media standpoint to get organic results. Facebook's just an uphill battle. So yeah, definitely.
But then it's also important too to ask.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Crystal, but to ask right up front. Well, even in the interview, what are you guys doing currently for advertising? Are you reaching the people you want? Are those even the customers you want? Are you even getting the customers you want, or are you even reaching the right people? So kind of finding maybe what they are currently doing for traditional advertising, and then maybe trying to bring some of that budget over, because it's so great now that there's so many publications and case studies of data-backed examples of brands just having amazing results with advertising. So it's not like you have to be clawing at them to try to pitch social media like it was 2010.
I might kind of be the outsider here, being a community manager for a giant corporation. But when I first started, we did a whole lot of targeting our customers in terms of my community is more of a support community for a product. So we did a lot of targeting our customers that we knew that we had a long list of emails for. So what we did was take all of their emails that we had in our system already, and then we just mass blast emailed them and to let them know about the community and that it existed. And in terms of working with my corporation, we're working with Blackbaud marketing as a whole, they're really great about getting tweets out if you ask them. They're really good about putting social media out. It's just a matter of really being loud and making your presence known in your own company, because I am just a little fish in a small pond when it comes to the size of my company. But we have a pretty strong community because I'm out there banging the cowbell and making sure that people know about it. So that's my suggestion.
Totally agree with you. Because of the fact that you got to, you have to really, like how Gary Vaynerchuk said, you have to, do the little jab, jab, in reaching out to the prospective buyers or clients. Because if you just try to, just go straight for the sale, I think they're gonna run away quickly, and I can guarantee you that would not look good for your company.
Anybody else have anything before we move on?
Let's reintroduce Dom.
Yeah, Dom, can you unmute yourself now, buddy?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
What's
Yeah,
oh my
and,
gosh.
and you're clear. You're actually like you're really
Wow.
clear. You're coming in.
Look at
You
you.
look
This
good.
is a lesson to everybody. A 5-year-old HP tablet computer is not as good as a iPhone 6. So lesson to the kids out there. Mac
I
is
know.
just overall better, even if it's much smaller. But yeah, I'm Dom. I like hanging out here, and normally like being here about 20 minutes earlier. But I've been able to hear the entire conversation, just haven't been able to talk. But you guys, everything that's going on here is absolutely fantastic. So
You've been nodding the whole way over to your new phone. Yeah.
exactly.
Before we move on here, one of the things that popped in my head as it kind of really matches against budget or advertising budget is also I think just opportunities for swag, right? I mean, I think any opportunities you can get as a community manager, whether that's like, hey, can I get 20 stamps a month, or can I get some can I do handwritten notes? Can I get swag? And then I think it's important too is being able to work with the marketing department if there is one, right? And so you might not be the one actually doing the social advertising, but definitely playing a support role in it. So hey, when that post is going out, so you're ready, to be answering people in real time and kind of helping things spread organically and doing your job as the community manager, when the advertisements happen. So.
Yeah, we have a lot of swag. I love our swag. We got a bunch of smartphone cleaners with our website on it. It was fantastic. We took it everywhere. We took it to our convention. We took it to organizational meetups. Again, I think you're absolutely right. Just ask for it. They're not that expensive, probably a couple of $100 tops. And if it's a little item that everybody uses, that's just spreading your website address all over the place.
Shh, don't tell them that. Come on.
Sorry, guys.
So, all right, let's move on to question number 3, which probably will be popular. Everyone loves to talk about tools and software. So, the question is, what software or tools can help a community manager be successful? And go.
I think as a number one.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
You go.
Sorry.
Go
Sorry about that. Hootsuite I would be as number one. They can monitor what's going on, and it's like being able to multitask without being overwhelmed with so much stuff that's going on, because you can see what people are saying about you, and also what messages are directly towards you as well.
What about anybody else got a really good type of software tool? Or are you guys just like only use native platforms?
Yeah, so I mentioned that too. So native platforms are great. For example, just understanding some of the features there. Twitter Advanced Search is amazing. There's a tutorial on my site. But other than that, Pinterest Source Search is really great too if you're trying to find out who's pinning your content from your website without you even knowing it or being told. So definitely check out Pinterest Source Search. There's also a tutorial on my site. But other than that, other than the native tools that you can use, it's really important to, again, with securing that budget, to be able to pay for things like Hootsuite monthly, where you can bulk schedule or something. So, for example, I just kind of put, without getting into the nitty-gritty crazy tools, I put Hootsuite as a great one to start. Again, this is kind of a checklist before you hire a community manager, so they can ask these type of questions. Hootsuite's great for monitoring. Other than that, Bundle Post is really awesome for content aggregation and just utilizing RSS feeds and keywords to just generate massive lists of content that you can use and schedule for days. And then what else? Let's see. Yeah, and then just the native tools. I said we're really, I mean, if you can't get that budget, a lot of the times the native tools kind of try to incorporate these things to keep marketers on there.
Yeah. I think another shout out from a tool standpoint is, I think Sprout Social, they're involved. Disclaimer, Sarah helps us with our chat and everything, but I mean, I like that tool especially just from a reporting standpoint. And I think we can't forget about, as community managers, just things like, especially if you're dealing in a lot of social, is keyhole and hash tracking. Again, kind of going back to our budget discussion. Hey, this is a great way for you to prove kind of the impact you're making on impressions, reach, that sort of stuff. Especially if you're doing a Twitter chat, right? And maybe your marketing manager, or your boss is like, well, why are we doing this chat? It's not just about, obviously we know that it builds community, but just on a pure impression standpoint, you'll be able to report those numbers and watch word of mouth grow for your brand.
Yeah. I agree with you completely there, Brew, too. I think that the big thing that when it comes to tools that I've always found is that it's very much not a one size fits all. There's a lot of different things that are out there. For me personally, my own personal stuff, I use Sprout. However, I know that for some of the freelance stuff that I do, I'm on a team that uses Hootsuite. And I also use Buffer. There's a lot of different options out there. So the biggest thing that I would say to anybody who's trying to set up a community manager is really take the time to talk with people that use a lot of different tools and take the time to test these things out. Don't necessarily just go, yep, this is what we're going with. Work your way through a couple of different ones, because you may find that one really hits the needs that the others don't, and that's a pretty big thing. So don't be too hasty to jump the gun on one. Make sure you do try a couple out.
Yeah, and I also think when you're, trying to pitch that, say you're trying to pitch the new tool, I think it's important for kind of the community manager to find, it might be the community manager's new and there's no one else really there who does social media or understands it. It might be a really traditional company. But if you're the community manager who goes in there and talks to one person just find the person who understands social media the most at that company. They're not probably the marketing director or anything like that. But then you can use that conversation with them from somebody who's already embedded in the company to then kind of justify, oh yeah, these impressions are important, or I know what he's talking about. They can kind of liaison it between you and the business owner who might be kind of skeptical or cautious about using these tools. So try to find that person in the company who's already socially active and kind of use them to champion the ideas for budget or tools.
I actually kind of have a question for the panel. Do you all use some sort of community management platform?
I think for me, I normally would use Buffer, because it's for me to get out important tweets, targeted tweets towards the audience, and and the fact of the matter is it's much easy, whenever I'm to try not to be too much on Twitter, which that's it's like an addiction in a lot of ways, but I would say Buffer is one of the best tools, one of my favorite tools to use to get targeted messages out to my audience.
For us, we use 100% native platform across all the brands we manage. No tools at all. All of our tools are used solely for measurement purposes.
So we use a
Can I ask
pretty
why,
big...
Brew? Can I ask why?
Well, so I think it started out probably really early days. We really didn't want any mix-ups, especially from an agency side of things, right? You manage multiple brands, and I know that there's measurements in place so that you don't accidentally tweet as the wrong brand and things like that. I think that's probably where a lot of this started out. But as we started to use the native platforms, I'll tell you this, is that I have not found a better tool out there that interacts with Facebook or interacts with Twitter better than Twitter itself, or better than Facebook itself, right? I mean, it's just really easy. With Chrome, I can pop open like my last 4 posts, watch new comments come in. Like I have not found a tool that does a great job of letting me manage Facebook the Facebook conversations within posts. And from Twitter, you're using Twitter the same way everyone else does as the brand, right? And we're really big about real time, Dom. For the brands we manage, we're on nonstop. This isn't oh cool, let me just jump in for a half hour, check mark off a bunch of things. Hopefully, it's constant responding, and the tools just seem to be not a great fit. I mean, Chrome and native seem to be our just. It works the best.
I think Tom just knocked his phone over into your answer in anger. Just like, how dare you? How dare you?
I'm just gonna chime in really quick, and I have to agree with the native tools as far as when you're actually posting. For Twitter, I use when I do have clients, and for my personal, I still use TweetDeck sometimes, but Meshfire is a new tool that actually it's launched last year, and it's a great listening tool, and it gives you suggestions on who you should interact with based on the conversations and based on your target audience and target topic. So that's something that I've really found useful. But as far as interacting with people and actually being posting, and the actual platforms themselves do a great job, so you don't have to go through a third party when you're actually using it. So I would second that recommendation, especially if you're first starting out. And I have a tendency to kind of, when I see that some people using Buffer and they're like, if it's being posted to Facebook through Buffer, that kind of throws me off for some reason, because then I can't tell if it's automated or not, and that like in me gives kind of a weird reaction as a community manager and as a customer.
Can I chime in? I definitely have to agree with her on that, because I mean, out of the fact, people might, because you can't tell the difference between what's automated. I think like for me, like what I try to do is, I'll set the tweets towards Buffer, but at the same time I interact, to mix it up, because I feel like it's very important to interact with the people inside it, because of the fact that people can't tell the difference between what's automated and what's not. And I think if you just interact with people more, then you're going to be able to gain more engagement there.
Yeah, so David DeWald kind of made a comment over on Twitter. It says, "Hey, TweetDeck is native, right?" And I guess it kind of is. I mean, I use TweetDeck for my personal, kind of tweeting, but again, I just find a lot easier to just bust open a bunch of Chrome tabs, set up my searches. Again, back to that tool Keyhole. That is a great tool for discovery of kind of influencers and maybe tweets you might have missed and things like that. So beyond measurement, it's also a great way to sort of research and dig up things that are going on.
It's really about just saving you time.
Yeah.
The engagement side, of course, doesn't need to be automated, but just part of the reason they should be hiring you is because you know these tools. That is so valuable. You've kind of vetted the tools out there, and you know which ones work, and not only which separate ones work individually, but then how to combine those to help your strategy, basically.
So hey guys, over on hashtag CMGR Hangout over on Twitter, if you guys want to tweet a question in for the panel, we're definitely going to have time. We'll keep an eye out for that. Either tag me or tag @mycmgr so we can make sure we bring you in. For now, we'll jump into question number 4, which is why should community managers be informed about notable customers? Kind of like this is on both the good and the bad. So the best customers and the worst customers. Why should a community manager know that? Why does that help them be set up for success?
I can jump in here really quick. The way that I look at it is that a community manager is kind of like a coach. You want to sort of move people throughout the community get them to try to be advocates. You want to get people to really be involved in your community. So if you're looking at it, you really want to know who your best players are, and you want to know who some of the ones that might need a little bit of work are, just so you sort of have this idea of who each one of them is. Not necessarily information you're going to do with every single day something with, but at the same time, it's good to know who your all-stars, who your advocates, who your rock stars are. And it's also good to know just sort of what to expect, so you don't get blindsided by things that people might say. It might just be, it's just Manny being Manny. You know what I mean? Something along the lines of that.
Oh wow, that's a good baseball reference there. I think also, it's also important to, especially like for the worst fans. You can try to at least respond nicely to them if they're being mean. Posting out some mean tweets or whatever. But I think just try to address them, and if they continue, then I guess you can just kick them out of the community for not following the rules.
Yeah, so kind of, again, going for the original post was about checklist before hiring a community manager, going for the employers as well as the potential employee. But a lot of the times, again, like they might have somebody that they know that's a customer who's in constant email contact, but they don't know, they haven't reached out to that person on social yet. They don't understand that that person has social profiles too and can be reached that way as well. So the community manager who's being brought on to manage the social community can then reach out to that person on social, where the company wouldn't have done that because they didn't know how. So the community manager can then understand and kind of engage with them there. And I think that's just another touch point for finding those advocates or those people that are already socially engaged, building that relationship with them as the community manager. And I think also the point here was that for a community manager just getting started in this community and building it, why don't you already work with the people who already like you? So they already understand who the advocates are. They can find them if they are already following them on Twitter, etc., and begin to engage with them to start kind of sparking the community engagement and conversation that goes on, because it's a lot easier to talk to a person who knows about you and is a friend than a complete stranger for the first time.
Yeah, I will say whenever I've started at a new company, it's very, very helpful to talk to the people who are there and just know like the history with those specific community members or customers who have a long-standing history with the company, because they know that, have that history, and they don't really care that you weren't a part of that. They still are going to expect that you know it as well. So just knowing like who is going to flip out every single time a new product release comes out, or who will love you no matter what, like it's just really important.
Yeah, I think that's where a logbook. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think that's where a logbook also comes into play. If you, especially if you have a team or you're going to be expanding in the future, is making sure that as a community manager, you're whether that's just one big ass like Word document, or if you have some sort of real format for it. I think just kind of keeping that history, and I think that's important. That storytelling is critical.
Yeah, I was just going to add on, I agree with all of those points. And knowing who the advocates are, especially if you're a new community manager coming into an already established community, that's who you can go to and get their feedback as the new community manager and be like, as an advocate of our, you've been a member of our community for so long, like what would you like me to know? Like that's a great way for you to also create relationships with those advocates for yourself as a representative of the brand.
Then you get like prime customer feedback too about what products you should maybe develop next, or just getting that feedback's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what is more endearing than having somebody come up, just go to them and be like, hey, dude, I'm super new here, and I know that you're a rock star. Like, what in the world can I do to make this better? Like, what do you want? I mean, people absolutely love that. I've done that from both sides, and like the relationship immediately that you build with somebody is huge after that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Definitely agree.
I like how it's 2015 now, and it's when you ask somebody, oh, are you on Facebook, or hey, what's your Twitter handle, or even if they just don't look at you weird anymore. So when you do kind of proactively reach out to them, I think it is kind of a welcome sight, and community managers Here's my quote graphic if anybody wants to make it. Community managers need to realize that every day they have a chance to make somebody's day. And that's what you can do with your community manager, whether that's a small retweet, a reply, any small little action. To us, it's kind of a job, and it might get pretty, I don't want to say like industrialized or kind of factory lined, but really, I mean, you can really be making people's day, and understanding whose day you should be making first, maybe, by knowing who is the current customers or people that are notable, is a good way to start.
I think also, like what Jacob just said, it's like, going out, interacting more with the small percentage of your community who are constantly engaging, with you, like, tweeting out their tweets, sharing their contact, telling them thank you, just those little things, of saying thank you for being the rock star in our community. Because of you, you are, our community is thriving.
And that's where swag comes in handy too. If you've got somebody that's a rock star in your community, you can send them some swag as your way of thanking them for being rock stars. But I think, like, again, in the support community like I have, we have a couple of people who called customer service a lot, asking a lot of questions, and they know the product really, really well because they're in it every single day. And so that was an opportunity for us in my community to turn those people into rock stars. And so if you develop that relationship you have with them, then basically they can go in and answer questions that people have in a support forum like we have. So invaluable. I mean, even today I was emailing them saying, hey, this person came into our community and had a best practice question. Do you think maybe you can help them? And then within 5 minutes, I had 2 or 3 of my rock stars in there answering a best practice question. So cultivating those relationships are vital. I mean, they may come across as someone who might come across as very assertive and demanding with their product, but that's only because they really enjoy their product and they really want to learn the most that there is about it. So, having them and their contributions in community really just help tremendously.
Yeah, that's a great point. And on the other side of, we've kind of dove in a lot about the positive clients, the people we should be reaching out to first, but also, as Dom had said, it's important for the notable negative clients to be able to tell the community manager that right away so they can, again, start looking for them online. Does that person have a blog by chance that they're going to take their bad review to? So the important part of this, too, is not only the previous people who are notable, but also the real-time people who are notable. If, for example, you work at a company who does a lot of cold call sales or sales calls, sometimes those might not go too happy or go too well, and the person on the other end might go ahead and start writing a bad review or something like that. Now, this is going to be very kind of like nitty-gritty, like really micro community management when you start trying to get these processes in place internally at a company to where that real-time feedback kind of warns the community manager right away, hey, be looking out for this, or hey, reach out and go ahead and help this guy out. I also think that that's important too for the community manager to know if the issue has been resolved, if that person's has been sent to the help desk and resolved with the customer service, that community manager then knows when they follow up, they're following up with a reply that's not, hey, let me email us here and we'll help you out. It's, oh, great, like I know that we had a problem, but we solved it with this and this. Good luck with this new product we sent you, or whatever. Anything that you can make it really like you're actively listening and not so automated, it's going to make that person on the other end who may have been a notably negative customer, it's going to really flip the switch on them, I think, and they'll feel a little bit more like the message was unified from the company than just a bunch of different departments doing the due diligence of the auto reply help.
Yeah, and as far as negative customers or people who may not be your best fan because they may have had a negative experience, one of the things that a lot of community managers may forget about are customer reviews online that are not on Twitter or social media. Especially if you sell your product online, going in and having a system set up where you reply to those reviews as well, not just on social media, but also like in the actual review, whether it's Google reviews, whether it's on the actual website, or whether it's another review, that also helps because then that shows the customers that you're actually listening and not just kind of giving them automated responses and not paying attention to them. So and knowing those, and when you're hiring a new community manager, if you're a new community manager going in and a job interview, you definitely want to ask those, like, how are you monitoring your reviews, not just, you know, your customers on social media.
Yeah, Josh McCormick just asked on Twitter, how do you figure out your best and worst fans? And I think that's a great question too, because we've kind of talked about why it's important to, but not necessarily the steps to. Josh McCormick up on the screen.
Yeah, there you go. I brought up Josh's tweet here.
Excellent. So he's got double the eyes on it then. But did you want to cover this first or his other question?
Oh, this is a different Josh McCormick.
No, it's the same Josh McCormick. He's just throwing those questions out there, those great questions.
Well, either one. We can take this one. And then I also have a question from Marnley that I want to get to too. So let's. Okay, so you had a different Twitter question that he just asked.
Josh had just asked, how do you find out who your best and worst fans are? Which I think is just a great question in the context of this question. And I think when I wrote the post originally, it was more so for the new community manager being hired to be able to ask these things. If it's a long-standing company, they should know who their clientele are. The sales rep should know, or the account manager should know, who's the guy who's just like, send me the report, I'm not even going to look at it, just bill me, I don't care, and then who's the person who's really involved with the process they kind of have a relationship with. So again, it's going to be setting up these common practices where it shouldn't be weird that say the general sales manager or somebody asks, hey, who are our top clientele? They can then get that information, give it to this community manager, and then the community manager can work with it there. So that's one way. And also another way too is if you're just a new community manager with a company that's been around for a bit but hasn't been socializing, I would go back and look through their feeds, look through for people who are kind of hashtagging it or have been without that brand responding to it, because a lot of the times you have your advocates who have been trying to engage with you the whole time, but the company just hasn't been there to respond. So go ahead and do some digging in the background to kind of find those people, and the best thing you can do there is just re-engage them, kind of as Dom said, hey, I'm the new guy, what's going on, I'm here, we got somebody to manage this now. So yeah, I think that's a great idea, but good question.
Awesome.
And that's really quick, just, I mean, like, jumping on that, that's really, really awesome to be able to say that too, because, you know, I know that I've had that before where I've been trying to get somebody's attention over and over and over again, and it's frustrating, but having that new blood that comes in there and just saying, hey, I know that you've been doing this, I know you've been trying to get a hold of us for months, sorry that you haven't gotten anything, but I'm here and I'm going to be taking it from here forward. That you know, speaks volumes to what you're going to do. You obviously have to follow through with it, but it speaks volumes, and you automatically gain a ton of clout with that person of how this brand is going to react moving forward.
I would also add to that, if you work in software and you work in support, then your best asset, I think, is asking your support analysts who calls the most, who creates the most support cases. And I would also say, too, that if they're in your community, they'll make themselves known pretty quickly. They'll rise to the top, who the rock stars and the not so nice people are going to be. You'll identify them pretty quickly.
Yeah, I had a little time community managing for rhymes with now we're pagers, go now we're pagers. But no, I was community managing the Power Rangers fan page for a bit, and we were actually told, hey, there's this one fan that has the direct line to you know, the main guy. So whenever he asks a question, just be sure that you have a good answer for him, or get an educated, approved answer for him, because he's like fan number uno, and he's just a phone call away from saying like, oh, your community manager guy's not doing his job or whatever. So just knowing that and getting that information, you just know who to look out for.
Can we talk for a second about how Jacob Curtis managed the Go-Go Power Rangers website? Like, that's pretty much the coolest thing that I've heard.
That's kind of awesome.
So.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I've done some pretty awesome work with the agency I was at. So really great team to work with there too. So that's kind of why I was able to write these type of posts, because not only at that agency but at the company I was with before, whenever we do kind of client onboarding, these are kind of the checklist things that I would constantly ask, just because that could really kind of vet whether or not we should be working with them or not. So yeah, a lot of experience. So I'm glad I'm a part of the Community Manager Hangout community now.
Now, did you have to become an expert in Power Rangers?
Oh yeah, I had to go back on Netflix and watch everything. But I did that for a bit, and then I actually switched over to Digimon, which is another like Pokemon, but a whole nother franchise. So first was the first community manager to kind of start their social presence, and now they're like millions too. So that was cool because we got a chance to actually consolidate the brand into a single page and get all those fans together, which was great.
I can't imagine angry people at all on a Power Rangers community site.
Well, you got to think,
completely
right?
wrong.
It's been around for 20-something years, so you have the old school fans who are really nostalgic and like the traditional, and then you have kind of the new kids who are watching the current episodes on Nickelodeon, and so you have kind of the want of like, oh well, I miss this, or it should do this. So, I mean, there's definitely kind of any community like that it's going to be super active. So it's kind of like you're riding a tsunami each day when you wake up and go to work. But I love the experience, and I couldn't be more happy that I have it.
I call Red Ranger in case anybody wanted to.
No way, man. You got to go with Tommy Oliver, Green Ranger.
Oh
man.
my God.
I'm sorry. I gotta go with it.
Honestly,
Sorry.
I will share this. I had the White Ranger flute. You remember that from the movie? I had the White Ranger flute when I was a kid.
Yeah, man.
I guess I'll have. Sorry. I'm sorry. I guess I would say for me, you know, I respect the ladies, so I mean, I'm a blue person. I love blue, so I will have to. I would like to be the Blue Ranger.
Good man.
Right on. Hey, so we could probably talk about Power Rangers all day long, and we might at the after hangout. No, I'm pretty sure we're just gonna have to talk about this later. We'll have a Power Rangers hangout, in fact. But I did want to address Marnley, who asked, you know, how do you guys obtain balance in a word of always being on? Marnley's new to being a community manager. Sarah had jumped in and said, you know, content schedules, automating some processes, keep office hours, point people to one channel. That's one of her tips. What other tips do you guys have as far as, you know, like how do you balance always being on?
One thing that I've found is always setting the expectation. If you're a new community manager, you have a chance to really be able to set that with internally, knowing that the people inside of your community know what you are going to be doing, but then with the community, you know, it gives you a chance to almost say, hey guys, you know, I'm new here. I know that things may have been a little sporadic. You didn't know if you're going to get a message at 2 a.m. or at this. This is really the time where I'm going to be responding to you. This is going to be the time where you're going to be able to get a hold of me. If you are a solo team, if you're multiple and you have multiple people on it, then you can sort of split up those hours. But setting the expectations from the get is incredibly important. And a lot of times within a community, you don't have a chance to do that unless you have new blood coming in. And then you have a chance to sort of do a little bit of a shift, say, hey, this is really what's going to be the case, and stick with that.
Yeah, you can. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as far as setting expectations, don't forget setting it with your employer or client, because you don't want the 10 p.m. phone call saying somebody posted something negative about us, why aren't you replying to it? So it's when you're setting expectations with your community, also set it with your client. And if you're just starting out, it may be a little bit harder. I mean, I know when I was first starting freelancing and I was first in community management roles, I was constantly on. I could not turn my phone off. I had like all of my clients' pages on all the time. I was like compulsively checking it even though there was nothing new. So I get that feeling of you don't want anything to slip. But when you're setting the expectations, explain to your client/employer why you're setting them that way and the fact that you have established it with your community and here's how everybody's going to respond. And it's not going to be perfect, but you just really don't want to forget about the client who may not be as social media savvy and who may jump the gun and have a short temper on stuff like that.
Yeah, one thing too, just in a proactive sense of community management is you can create page guidelines that you host as a tab of your Facebook page that kind of can outline, hey, we might not get to your question right away, but within 48 hours somebody will reply to your question. Or you kind of just, from there you could put, these are bannable offenses, or things like anything you kind of post to our page, you kind of give us permission to repurpose, like for our own Facebook content or whatever. Just kind of have these guidelines already laid out so your community knows. And then, yeah, another thing you could do is just, after your community is kind of like informed of that, you can also mention that, like, just reinforce it over and over again.
So I'm going to skip to real quick a question here from Carmela, which also then will dovetail us right into our sixth question about crisis management or crisis plan. Her question for the panel is, should community managers differentiate themselves from customer service teams to their communities? And I would say, you know, I don't know if anyone has a different opinion, but I would kind of say that depends, right? It's a little bit of a cop-out answer, but I mean, sometimes the community manager is playing customer service as well as building community, depending on the brand or the size or the budget. You know, other times there are two separate departments doing that, and other times I've seen where it's the community's manager role to funnel the conversation into, you know, maybe a phone number or a website or another form or an email, you know, and that, you know, social media is not the place to handle the problems, just to listen to find them.
Yeah.
Definitely. So. Sorry, I definitely have to agree with Jonathan on that there. I mean, because you are really doing both roles. You know, it's like, you know, you have to you know, be able to handle their complaints or replies, but at the same time, you know, social media is where you can interact with them, but then afterwards you can like take it offline, you know, like get their number or send a direct message to them, and then you can handle it offline, so that way, you know, you're keeping it in a way in-house without letting everyone know about it, and you kind of diffuse in, like if it's a negative comment, you kind of diffuse in the situation.
I think if you work for a software company that supports thousands of people who use your product, I don't ever think it's a bad idea to market yourselves as a team, and the ultimate goal would be to help you, the customer. You never want to isolate yourself as a community manager and say, hey, I'm the community manager, there's nobody else in here, it's just me. Don't look at all these people over here who are behind the scenes helping you answer your questions. For us, we've got not only our product lead in there, we've got our trainer in there, we've got customer support analysts in our community, we have consultants in our community. We have a bunch of people in there at all times helping and making sure that the customer gets exactly what they need. So I don't see the need to differentiate at all between a community manager and support. It's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I think that ties into transparency, right? So we have, I mean, I work with a lot of different clients, and it's always been like, if I'm not the support person, letting them know that I do have contacts or I will get the answer, like question answered. I think as a community manager, our job is the first line of defense. So if we do need to go back and get answer from support, we can let the customer know, hey, I have your question, I'm getting an answer for you, you know, I'll get back to you. Just that alone will help kind of alleviate any kind of tension. Hey, I keep muting myself. Awesome. And I'm actually, my current job is as in the Google Small Business community. So we built a community from scratch, and it's not a support community. It's about, like, the mission is to help small businesses, and we post a lot of content. And but we do, because it is a Google-owned community, we get a lot of support questions. We get a lot of technical questions. And the way we handle it is letting them know, either direct them to the support page if it's an obvious answer, or give the answer ourselves, or let them know that we're looking into it, and then internally work with the specific support teams. So I think it just all boils down to transparency and communicating with the customer, letting them know if you do need time to get answer, or if you do need to direct them somewhere, you are going to be doing that, and you'll get back to them if you do need that time.
All right. Hey, can I chime in a little bit? Like, you know, piggyback to what Barak just said. You know, also, even though the community manager's job is to be there in the front lines. I think everyone should be at the front lines, whether you're like a consultant, the CEO or the manager, because basically, because they can have an opportunity to see the job of the community manager, so that they can understand the role of what they can do. That's kind of like one way for them to get that idea. It's by allowing them to at least to be in the shoes of the community manager for that while, for a little bit, just to just to understand the role of that community manager.
Yeah, I hate being those people that are just like, well, I actually wrote a post about this, but I wrote a post about this, and it was called Community Managers. How to build basically communities, and community managers need to ABC, so always be closing. That's kind of has some sales connotation to it, but it's taking those conversations and those opportunities and not just saying thanks or anything like that, but whether it's directing somebody to a resource that can help them out, directing that person to an email subscribe that is primed to just subscribe, but they're not taking that action. So community managers really need to be taking each engagement they have as an ABC closing opportunity to convert that community member into something. And this isn't to look at them as data or not people, but again, you only convert a person. So kind of reaching out to them is going to be very important. I also think when it really comes down to it now and how it's going to be in the future is that community managers aren't going to have a choice to be distinct from their company. A lot of community managers will update Facebook pages and kind of tag their name at the end. Or a lot of community managers have their own personal brands that they deal with that they share a very reciprocal, especially industry community. So they're not really going to have a choice. So that's kind of just the bad news about being a community manager. But the good news is if you do find a company that you really align with that supports the same ideals you do, you'll be an even better community manager because you won't mind how it's going to trend to where people want to be talking to people. And I'm talking for more of the smaller brands here, not to say that Nike has to post updates and tag somebody's name. Because it really wouldn't matter, but these are for the smaller businesses or the new community managers as well.
All right, guys. Well, what a great hour. It went super fast. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Thanks, Jacob and Brock and Cheval and Crystal and Gias and Jacob. Oh, I already said Jacob.
I'll take it.
I'll thank you twice.
All right.
So, Sherry, what do we got going on next week?
We actually don't have a topic set yet for next week, so if you have ideas, just shoot them our way. Go to mysteamgr.com and click on participate.
Awesome. Otherwise, maybe we'll just talk about Power Rangers.
Topic.
Definitely agree with that.
All right, guys. Enjoy your Friday, and we'll
Thanks,
see you
everybody.
next Friday.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you a lot.